I'm down here at the Victory Garden. It's mid-September. The last thing I got going here are my string beans, so I'm harvesting a bunch of them. These are the string beans. They finally took off and have been running, as string beans are known to do. And they've been producing pretty well. I've been picking a bunch. And so we got a nice little haul in there. And this will probably produce for another month, at least a couple of weeks. This will be producing. There's a lot of smaller beans on here. I just went through this whole area, but you got some small beans like this. You got a few slightly larger ones, like over here. So I've probably gotten 3 decent harvests so far off of this. We've had some for dinner. I froze some. And just coming by to try and get the biggest ones I can find, because some are getting pretty big. Let me show you what we got here. Whoa, throwing them around. So we got a bunch of nice beans, but some are getting really swollen. So you don't want to get them too far, because then they get a little woody. Now I just have to find that one that I dropped down in here. And got a bunch of small ones in here. So like I said, there's still a bunch of beans on here that we'll be able to harvest. And I didn't think this was going to actually be much of a success when I planted it, or in the aftermath of my planting it, because they weren't looking so hot, the plants. But they eventually took off. So now it's just a matter of coming through here and trying to pick them all off the vines. So, as I said, I don't want to get too big. But one of the good things about growing them on a teepee like this, maybe not plant quite so many string beans next year, at least on one separate trellis, one individual trellis. But having them up off the ground like this just makes it easy to find and harvest them. My back really appreciates not having to bend over picking beans. My bean harvest at home looks like it's going to be a disaster. My groundhog has devastated those plants. They're just wrecked. I mean, the beans themselves look like they're still there, but the plants were just never able to really develop because the groundhog kept coming in. Very disappointed in my dog Kodak, because he hasn't caught this groundhog. Gotten close a couple of times, but that little guy is wily and he keeps escaping. So he ate all the peas. He's been noshing on the beans and gorging himself on the beans. So I'm gonna have to probably put up like a wire cage over my plants next year to keep the groundhogs out. So I'm gonna work on designing something for the beds at home for next year. But back to harvesting some more beans. There's also a sense of discovery when you grow string beans like this, particularly when you grow the vines so thick. Oh wow, right in there. A whole bunch hanging out in here. Because you never know where you're gonna find them. So it's just a matter of moving the vines out of the way and hoping you discover them. We got a whole bunch hanging over here. So I'm gonna get to it and go through this trellis. So we finished the harvest for this time. I think I'll probably get one more out of it, maybe in a couple of weeks, and then I can start tearing down the vines. From the looks of it, I think I got just about all the beans that are on there, except for a few very small ones, so it'll be a small harvest next time. So I was very happy with the beans. They were the Blue Lake string bean. I got them, I think they're a Fairy Morse. I got them at Home Depot or Lowe's, and they actually produce quite well. I mean, beans are pretty easy to grow and they're pretty prolific. So really shouldn't have been too surprised, except that sometimes what I expect to happen and what actually does happen aren't always the same thing. So this was my haul this time. It was probably half of a regular size Walmart shopping bag. And these will get washed up and put into the freezer. They won't last very long. I've seen some videos on YouTube where people test blanching versus not blanching. I've always blanched my vegetables, but people say the taste and the firmness and the crunchiness of the beans is actually better preserved by not blanching them than blanching them. Although you can control that by blanching them and then only cooking them for a couple of minutes in boiling water. And that way you're not re-cooking the bean again, because it's blanching and then cooking it like you normally would. That tends to lend itself to a mushy texture. By just doing it for a minute or two, you don't. But when you just freeze them without blanching, and then you throw them in a pot of water, cook them for about 5 minutes, then they're nice and crunchy, and they retain the green color. You're not really losing anything. So that's what I'm gonna do, because this isn't gonna last us, obviously, a full year. And this will be a couple of meals, that's for sure. It'll be a couple of meals that we'll get out of this. Put it in some casseroles, some stews, and they'll do terrific. But I'm very happy with the beans. They finally started producing, and they've produced well. The Blue Lake bean grows nice, and tough finding them sometimes in the vines because of the green color. Could be one of the benefits of growing like the Scarlet Runners or something like that, is you get a colored pod. Makes them stand out a little bit amongst the morass of vines. So if you want to see what we were doing in the garden last week, check out this video right here, and then subscribe and hit that notification bell. And that way you'll be able to follow along on the progress of all of our vegetables as we try to grow a supermarket down here at the Victory Garden. Okay, thanks for watching.